Hello and welcome back to another episode of Who's This Guy? The only show on YouTube where you can find me ranting endlessly about video games. Because someone has to. On today's episode... all of them? You know what really grinds my gears? When people say, nah bro, I don't play games, total waste of time. See, I think video games are so special and they've been a massive part of my life. Oh, and don't worry, this isn't gonna turn into a video games art discussion, but if you're gonna tell me that The Kissing Booth 3 is art because it's a movie and Pentiment is just a silly little waste of time, then I'll kindly have to ask you to leave my dojo, sir. Back in the good old days of the 1990s, I was a pretty shy, introverted little kid with a hectic stutter that you'll just have to speculate as to if I still possess due to the magic of editing. I do still have it, yeah. Oh, fuck. I was always fascinated by computers. I'd sneak into my dad's home office as often as I could to play some solitaire and sweep some mines. Anyone else? Just me, coming across as super old. One school day I was sick, and I got to go to my dad's office building in the city. He let me play around on his computer for a little bit, and that's when I first saw this Crystal Caves game. Does anyone remember this? Is this like considered good? Dad, why did you have Crystal Caves installed on your work computer? Next, my brother and I received the beautiful little Nintendo Grey Brick, and it was time for my first experience with the little Italian plumber and Tetris. So much Tetris. The video game bug was really starting to grab a hold of me at this point, and I started eyeing off a PlayStation 1. Hands up if your first console was a PlayStation. Mine wasn't. My parents were a little bit wary of this whole video game violence thing. The impression at the time was that the PlayStation was like edgy and dangerous, and the Nintendo 64 was the light and fluffy family option, so we ended up getting a 64. And one of the very first games we got was Conker's Bad Fur Day, still to this day one of the most violent video games I've ever played. Not to mention GoldenEye. Did anyone get obsessed with playing the big head mode in this game? I don't think my parents knew that they were unlocking the gates to Headshot City. The main games that shaped my childhood on the 64 though were Mario Kart and Ocarina of Time. Mario Kart because it was just so goddamn fun, and Ocarina because at this age I didn't really yet have a concept of coding or programming, so this just seemed like this magical little world. Oh, and please tell me someone played as much Nagano Winter Olympics 98 as me and my brother did. What's your point, Sam, you rambling fuck? Well, I think these games helped me a lot when I was a kid. I didn't feel particularly empowered. I was this little awkward stuttering kid, but when I was playing Ocarina of Time, I felt like an explorer. When I was playing GoldenEye, I felt like a badass, except for when I was accidentally killing Natalia again and again. God damn it. And Mario Kart made me feel so fucking goddamn pissed. Then it was time for high school, even more awkward stuttering, and the GameCube. Any other members of the Lunchbox Club here? When we first got it, we didn't have any games for it, so for the first few days, we just rotated this cube around, and it's so beautiful. I think the GameCube really founded my appreciation for video game graphics. Going from this to this was fucking mind-blowing. It's the first time I remember thinking about the fact that someone had to make this stuff. Someone had to model the stitches on Mario's overalls. Does anyone else agree that the jump in graphics from the PS1 to PS2 and 64 to GameCube is the craziest graphical jump that we've ever had and that we're probably ever going to have? These guys went from looking like they were made from ice cream and cardboard to being proper 3D models. My brother and I got lost in hundreds of hours of Virtua Striker 3. Does anyone remember the career mode? You had these training camps, you leveled up your players. Yes, these guys move like robots, and the controls are truly horrible, but the structure of this career mode... But it was Metroid Prime that basically became family to me at this point. I'd have a shitty day at school, get bullied, but it wouldn't matter because I was gonna come home and explore, unlock new areas, and scan everything. This was the age when you'd start to get like the whispered schoolyard conversations about games. It'd be like, hey man, I heard you talking about Metroid Prime the other day. It was pretty good, hey. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Oh hey Pete, yeah, I love sports. I'd walk home from school with my buddy John. We'd stop at his house and we'd play Madden 05 on his Xbox. Wilson, I was first exposed to the beauty of the hit stick, TM. While we ate salt and vinegar chips just to really fuck those controllers up. I'd started forming a lot of friendships based around playing games. By the time I graduated, I'd had some of the most meaningful gaming experiences. Metroid obviously, but also Wind Waker, Burnout 2, the early Splinter Cell games. Do these hold up? Let me know below. And of course the Alpha, the Omega, the everything, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Whether I was unsticking old mate's tongue from the pole in Canada for like the 107,000th time, getting the Foundry up and running, or just playing hundreds of hours of graffiti with my brother. THPS3 formed about 70% of my entire personality from ages 12 to 17. Are you Team Tony 2 or 3? Or do we have any 5 fans out there? Ooh. But graduating high school means it's time to enter the real world and leave this kiddie Nintendo stuff behind. That's right, it was time to get broy. The year was 2007 and my brother and I had somehow landed in the same university course. We were walking out of a tutorial on Oliver Twist and we both looked at each other and said, fuck this. We did 3 things that day. We dropped out of university, joined a contest for our totally bitching rock band, and we bought an Xbox 360. Such violence! Sure, I'd shot the shit out of heaps of teddy bears, but actual terrorists? This was the real deal, man. Has anyone gone back to Rainbow Six Vegas recently? The Nintendo days of innocence were truly at an end. Except they weren't. We also got a Wii when we needed to mellow out from all the killing, shooting, swearing. Oh, the humanity! Wii Sports, anyone? My dad was a bit of a tennis nut, and gee, did we have a lot of close calls with his overly enthusiastic footwork and our TV. When we'd had enough time with this Nintendo shit though, it was time to bro out hard again with some Gears of War, Call of Duty, and the outfit. My brother loved this game. Yes, the 360 was very shooty bang bang, but it was also a sports gaming powerhouse. FIFA before it came a gamble fest microtransaction nightmare. The Fight Night games. Did any other Aussies become experts in the rules of hockey and American football just by playing EA NHL and the Madden games? Somewhere along the line, my brother also picked up a PlayStation 3, which meant I got to see even more shooty bang with Resistance, Killzone, not to mention getting acquainted with a certain adventuring chuckle fuck who's allergic to the laws of physics. Oh, and the driving games from this era. You had Forza at its peak, Burnout continuing to be amazing and evolving, and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Has anyone played this recently? I think it would hold up. This was also a time when developers were starting to get really ambitious with the scope of their worlds. I spent thousands of hours between the Fallout games, Oblivion, Skyrim, Just Cause 2. Does anyone remember how you could go to that Lost Island and you couldn't fly a plane over it or it would explode and then you could drop down and find the hatch? I'm sure a lot of you, however, remember the 360 era as the rise of the downloadables. The ending of Braid was so mind-blowing. I'm so happy there's people smart enough in the world to make something like this. We got Renegade Ops. I played this just the other day. This still looks amazing. Trials, Limbo, Zoomer, please tell me I'm not the only one. On the larger scale, my fellow countrymen made the best rude, emotionally unstable Los Angeles detective sim of all time with L.A. Noire. Oh, and it's pronounced Bondi. The amount of videos I've seen saying Team Bondi, one of the most famous beaches in the world. It's actually really gross and dirty though, and it's always full of drunken, sunburnt tourists. Yeah. Anyway, L.A. Noire was awesome. Is anyone else's favorite game from this era Red Dead Redemption? This thing was pure escapism for me, and I did it all. The hunting challenges, the shooting challenges, the poker. The real revelation with this game were the quiet moments. Riding into Mexico with Jose Gonzalez playing in the background, or just crossing the seemingly endless expanse of the West at sunset. God, what a special thing this was. Speaking of special, imagine being able to share games with your friends this easily. Holy shit, the next generation got off to a gnarly start with Sony taking full advantage of Microsoft hitting themselves so hard in the face. What had happened? Microsoft was trying to take my cool, edgy, violent sports machine and turn it into corporatized cable TV channeling monstrosity. Even though Microsoft ended up changing course for young impressionable Sam, damage was done and I joined millions of us who said, what the fuck, Microsoft? And started this generation with a PlayStation 4. This was when I really started doing a lot of online gaming. At this stage in my life, I was living out in the tiny Australian town of Dubbo. My family was a long way away, but weekly catch-ups online with my brother made them feel a lot closer. We sunk a whole bunch of time into Destiny, Battlefield 4, so much disc jam. There was plenty of amazing solo times to be had as well though. I absolutely loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Side note, I remember really liking Aloy in the first game and I found her absolutely fucking unbearable in Forbidden West. Does anyone agree? Anyway, how about some Outer Wilds? I probably wouldn't argue with you if you said this was the best game ever made. The ending of this game is so fucking beautiful. What an amazing message about acceptance and the importance of connection. Connection, like connecting the dots in The Witness. That was so fucking terrible. You suck. Oh, by the way, in the middle of the PS4 generation, I went through a pretty bad breakup, and one of my coping mechanisms was to go down to my local EB Games and say, hello friend, I'm experiencing a major life shift currently. Do you have any Xbox One S's? Half an hour later, I was blasting around the outback in Forza Horizon 3. This mountain is called Tibrogargan. It's not too far from my grandparents' house. I've hiked up this fucker in real life. I also mowed down thousands and thousands of zombies in Dead Rising 3. I feel like this game was received pretty poorly at the time. Did people like this? I did. Oh, and I played Rise. Moving right along. The final chapter in what, when I originally started writing this script, was just meant to be a pretty quick passion pitch on how video games are meaningful, but has now turned into me basically giving you my entire history with them, is the current generation, which of course started with the great console shortage wars. Constantly updating my Twitter feed finally paid off. My local outlet was receiving a very limited stock of PS5s and Xbox Series X's, and I don't think I've ever moved that quickly in my life. At last I could play Flight Simulator, Forza Horizon 5, Astro's Playroom was a goddamn delight that tickled my nostalgia bone, and for me, most importantly, Returnal. I don't see many people talking about this game. Are we fans? I think this game's incredible. Oh, my wife and I got every single trophy in Sackboy playing it co-op. We did these knitted night trials until we went completely insane. So what's been the point of all this aside from me indulging myself and just listing off a bunch of my favorite games? Well, like I said at the top, it really pisses me off when people say games are trivial, because for me, and I'm sure the same is true for a lot of you, they really matter, and I'm grateful to the people that have made them and continue to make them. They've been there during the good times and the bad times in my life. Metroid Prime helped me get through hard times at school. Forza Horizon 3 got me through a bad breakup. And when my dad passed away, running around in the world of Fable 2 gave me some light in a pretty bleak time. And this was just me talking about games that I've played myself. I haven't even mentioned the thousands of hours of games I've watched my wife play. Hollow Knight, Crash Bandicoot, Abe's Odyssey, Guacamelee, Psychonauts 2, Nobody Saves the World, the Spyro games, Hue. Has anyone else had that experience where you feel like you've played hundreds of hours of a game, even if you've never touched the controller? Anyway, point is, these games mean a lot to me. And next time someone says video games are a waste of time, tell them that some random dude on YouTube was like, nah, let me know if any of the games I've mentioned mean a bunch to you. Thanks so much for getting to the end of my rant. My name's Sam. If you've enjoyed this, please give the video a like. It helps bring my self-esteem from like a -24 up to about a -7. And do consider subscribing and hitting the bell. I'll see you soon.